First, let's get started by looking at some acrylic skins. I'm sure you're familiar, but acrylic skins are simply the paint that has dried from the poured paintings and now is nice and flat and smooth dry, and we can reuse it for a new application. I usually work with freezer paper underneath my pouring surfaces so that we can easily peel off the paint. You can see the corner here, it comes off super easy because the surface of the freezer paper is a waxy material and the paint doesn't bond to it, so you can just peel it off anytime you're ready. So this particular sheet, I used an excessive amount of paint so that we could have a nice big wide range of colors and skin to work with. You can see these are the spots where I had my little cups holding up my canvas, and no paint has been underneath there, obviously. I'm going to pull up some more skins that we can look at. This is a big collection of skins that I've got that I've been working with already. This is from the pouring on paper experiment we did, and I've already been pulling some out for use in pendants we'll be looking at. Just a quick little dribble, but it was large enough that I could save it for something. Painting, all kinds of skins, all kinds of colors we got here. I'm going to start with this red, orange, green, because this is one of the more fun poured paint skin applications that I've created so far. So let me get that ready for you. Okay, what we got here is a selection of white, blue, yellow, green, orange, and red paints that I did with the swipe technique to give a lot of good cell formation without needing multiple colors. We just have white, black, blue, black, yellow, black, green, black, orange, black. There's just the two colors. And with these, I cut out and shaped cells for this little 2x2 Rubik's Cube. I'll have the exact model down in the description in case anybody wants to try this at home. But the skins were cut out carefully for the right shape and size, and then glued onto the surface of the Rubik's Cube. I covered the orange side with resin so it's solid, it won't erode the paint as I solve this and continue to scramble it and use it. But the resin took so long to dry, this particular brand, so going forward I'll probably just get transparent vinyl stickers to slap on top of these, or just some uncut vinyl that I can cover it with, so that the paint on the cube itself will be protected from my fingers and the oils in my hands, but it'll still be nice and transparent so I can see the design that I added. But that's probably one of my favorite applications I've used my skins for yet. It was a lot of fun to add to this little cubie here. Here's another example of what you could do with acrylic skins. I have this mirror here that I've covered the surface. The edge of it has poured paint on it. Now if you've seen the video already, I poured directly onto the mirror, but you could easily treat it the same way using dried skins that you then glue onto a mirror. Here's a little circle cutter. It's got a little razor blade on the bottom, and you can adjust how wide the radius of this is, and then you spin it around and it'll cut out a circular shape. I've used this quite a few times. It's very effective, cuts very easily, and cuts very cleanly. It's also pretty safe. You just gotta make sure you don't run your finger over it, you'll be good. And you could cut a circle out of a dried skin and then simply glue that onto the mirror. You could do the same thing with scissors, especially if it's a flat or a square mirror. It's got nice straight edges along the side. It'd be even easier to take scissors or maybe a straight edge and a razor blade to prepare skin to glue onto the outside of your mirror. That's a fun, crafty little application for it. Well, it's all fun and games showing off the materials that I've already completed, but let's take a look at some things and we'll make them along with you today. So here I've got a little mason jar, and while you could also cover the outside of the jar with some of your poured paint, what I'm going to be doing today is covering up this gross little sticker that got ripped off the top. I'm going to cover this section up with a little poured paint, and we'll see how that looks. I've got some acrylic plastic here. You can use whatever you want. I'm just putting this underneath my surface so that it won't scratch up my desk as we work. Then I've also got the circle cutter that we were looking at earlier, and I'm going to cut out a piece of acrylic skin to cover the top of this jar. Let me just rearrange a couple things real quick. And there we go. So I'm going to set this down. It's got a little rubber stump so I can press down on that and it won't go anywhere. And then just give this a nice little spin. And let's see what we got. Ooh, I spiraled it just a little bit too much. This is a little easier off camera than on camera. But that'll still work for us because we're going to be gluing this. So a couple little mistakes here and there don't really matter too much. Here we go. That covers it up. And you can see that's a nice pretty little purple selection on our jar here. We'll see more of this with the other crafts we're doing at the end of the video together. But with just plain old glue, you could use super glue, you could use Elmer's glue, whatever you want, because this is just the top of a lid. It's not going to get too much exposure, it's going to get worked too much. It just sits there and looks pretty, and that's what we want our decorations to do, right? So we got this guy. And we've also got this little frame. Somebody gave it to me somewhere down the line. It's from IKEA. It says ribbit. That's what frogs do, right? But let's say we want to hang up one of our poured paintings, but we don't have canvas space to hang it up, or maybe we just want a little something for our desk, right? Well, you can take out the bottom, and then again scooting this out of the way, and using my little flat acrylic for protection, I can line up the frame. Safety first, always cut away from yourself, never towards. Look how easy that was. Cover the cap. We've got this, and then we can just peel off our desk ready painting right here. Be a little careful. Now it does look like there were a couple little spots. Maybe you can see them if I move this over other areas, or even just set it right here. This particular skin was a little thin. There's some spots that it didn't quite cover, but we can paint this white or black. Just give the frame underneath it a flat coat, and then people won't be able to tell. Heck, even the border, the what do you call that? The matting of the frame itself might do the trick for us. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, not too shabby. Look at that, it covers it right up. So if we wanted to, that's a nice way to add a little class, spice up your home or workspace. You don't even need to get a canvas for this one. You can set it right inside of a desk frame. For this next upscaled acrylic skin project, what I'm going to do is make a little bookmark. So I have a ruler here, and I'm choosing a ruler because it has a bookmark-like width to it. So I'm going to set this here, find an area of the painting that I kind of like. Maybe I'll grab this little yellow stripe here. I got a section of the bookmark out there. I'm going to put my X-Acto knife away. And then we have a nice little strip to use as a bookmark. We're not quite done with this yet. I would recommend continuing with this next step that I'm about to show you. Look at that. What a fun, soft little side on here. It's got a very ocean, very algae kind of feel to it. I like that. And then we have the very stark, vibrant contrast of all the cells on this side. Let me scoot this off to the side. And now we have some plain old shipping tape and our little bookmark. I would recommend doing what I'm about to do with your bookmark, simply because in case there's any little oils left off the surface of your skins if you haven't washed them, or just to prevent this from getting stuck in the book. The pressure of the book, especially if you've got anything stacked on top of it, that can force the paint to stick to the pages, and then your book is ruined, your bookmark is ruined. It's a bad time all around. So instead, I would recommend giving it a quick coat with this tape. I'm going to give a little extra room so that I can stick it down, and then as it's stretched out, if I'm pulling it real tight, there won't be any gaps or bubbles. Okay, get that set up. And I got this little acrylic board so I can kind of bend it back up to where I need it. These gloves are going to be in the way. Spread this back down, make sure there aren't any little bubbles or creases. You want it as flat as possible. Cap this for safety, and then just repeat the process. So, here we go. Flatten this down, and you can even take the same ruler that you've been working with. After you stretch it far enough, take that ruler, take a flat edge, and you can kind of just squeeze it on down like that. That's how you can apply decals and stuff real easy, real painlessly. We're going to trim this up. You could also run this through a laminator machine if you had the fancy equipment for that. I don't, and I'm sure most people don't. So a little extra tape goes a long way. And then you can just take some regular old household scissors, run through that, get a nice little straight edge going there, wiggle it, because you know, tape, give it a trim. I'm sure you all know what it's like to cut with scissors, right? This is the last acrylic skin project that I'm going to demonstrate making today, but we'll still have some more ideas after this. This, however, might just be my favorite thing to do with the acrylic skins, and that's to make pendants out of. This is kind of a setup because you first have to get something to put the acrylic skin in, so I have a little pendant here. That's what these bags are. I have squares, ovals, circles, just like you see here. I have the glass cabochons, if that's how you say it. They came shipped to me with a little tissue paper protecting it to keep it nice and clean. We got, again, oval, squares, and circles fit to match the pendants themselves. One of the reasons I'm wearing gloves is so that I don't get any oils along the surface of these. It's fine to touch the top of them as you work because you can always clean the top off, right? You can just wipe that clean. But on the underside where it's flat, you do not want to touch that, because if you get any oils or residue or anything as we make these pendants, that's going to be stuck on your paint permanently, and you'll always be able to see those little smudges inside. It's a real nightmare. So just be careful as you touch them. Keep them on clean surfaces. Maybe keep a little Windex or alcohol wipe so you can clean the bottom before you prepare them. I also have some punches. I've got a 1-inch square. I think this is a 50 to 60 millimeter oval. That one was hard to find. And then we got a little 3 1/4 inch circle cutter. We also have E600 glue. This is industrial strength stuff. It has a consistency not unlike hot glue, where it gets kind of stringy the more it's been exposed to oxygen, and it's got a very rubbery tack to it once it's completely dried or cured. So I would recommend this glue. I'll have it written in the description as well. I'd recommend this to secure your skins inside the pendants and brooches you make, just because it's the easiest to get a hold of while still being fairly safe, and it's got a really good grip strength for what we need it to do. It also looks great as you put the pendants inside, but we'll take a close look at that too. Now, I prefer the little I prefer the stamp cutters because it's just quick and it's easy and they're nice high quality material. So while it is a specialized tool that I'm not going to be using for anything else, it does save me a lot of time, and if I want to be making this with any kind of consistency, this helps save enough time that it's worth the hassle. You could also use the X-Acto knife or just a pair of scissors. I'm sure most people have these around the house. You just need to be very careful and work slowly to make sure you don't hurt yourself or damage the designs you're trying to utilize. I've also got this little flat acrylic sheet underneath my work surface here so that the glue I'll be using, I can peel it off. This glue doesn't stick very well to glass or plastic or metal, but it will absolutely stick to everything else. I should mention that even though the pendants we're going to be working with are glass and metal, and the paint is a kind of plastic, because everything is so compact, even though we could theoretically still pull the glue out of it, this particular brand, you would really have to put some elbow grease into it, really fight to get it out of there, and that's not going to happen with something for casual use like this. So this is still what I consider the best fit, E600. Let me get a little selection here. I'm going to start with green. I really like that color. And I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to trim out a little selection for us. Get this little chunk here where everybody can see. I don't need to be precise. I'm just getting a little piece off of my main skin sheet, and this will allow us to fit it better into our stamp cutter here. As you work with these, you can see where it's going to line up in the little window along the bottom. I like that selection, so I'm going to just pop it right out. Now that I have that going, I can fit it inside. I'm going to peel it off first, carefully. Sometimes these gloves are nice and sometimes gloves are just a pain in the tush. Okay, I got the square peeled off. You can do this a couple ways, where you put glue underneath and then the paint and then glue on top of that and then the little glass bead, but I found it's not entirely necessary to put any glue in the bottom. The reason for this is, as we get our glass bead ready, very delicately, as you can see, once it's in there with the glue between the glass and the paint and the edges of this will be perfectly fine to hold everything in place. I've also found that if you put glue on the bottom and then put the paint on top of the glue, the force of adding the bead and pressing it in can spread and tear the paint underneath. We don't want that, obviously, so I say just leave it as is. We're only going to glue between the paint and the bead. Here we go. I'm going to clean up some of the top of this because it can kind of gum up. And I'm just going to add a drop for us here. You don't need a ton, but you do want enough that we can do this, which is I'm going to take the bead, set it on top, and you can see that the pressure of it is squeezing the glue outside and it gets a kind of translucent. Let's see if I can focus this for you. Okay, can you see that? If I press along the edges, you can kind of see it, the glue pillaring out the sides. You can see that light circle there. That's the glue, and it may be difficult for me to film and show this, so let me just describe it first. You're going to take the glass bead on top and kind of roll it back and forth. Not very exaggerated. You don't need to use a lot of movement on this, just enough so that you can spread the glue to the corners underneath the bead, and you'll be able to tell when the glue is completely covered because the entire surface will be magnified thanks to the glue and the glass. Just rolling and using a little pinch pressure here and there. Some of the glue might start coming up along the sides. Don't worry if that happens, but do try to keep most of the glue inside of it. And there we go, maybe just a little roll here on the corner. Oh, that's beautiful. Man, that is gorgeous. I love doing this thing. I don't know if I was a crow in a past life or something like that, but shiny stuff like this just really, it's just so much fun to look at, you know? So that is the last reason that I would recommend using the E600 glue, because once the glass bead is inside and fitted securely, it has this kind of magnifying effect that you don't see with most other glues, even if they're transparent. There's just something about this that works really well with these glass beads, so for the best results I definitely recommend going with this. And I might just have to hang this up somewhere. So there you have it. Here's some of the things that we've looked at today, things that we've created together, and ways that we've repurposed some of our acrylic skins from poured paintings. A couple of things to keep in mind for the projects you'll be doing at home. Make sure that your paints are thick enough when you make your skins so that you can use them for these purposes. As we've seen with the picture frame here towards the edge, and on a few other projects I've done, the paints were too thin. So when they peeled off, the paint just got torn, or there wasn't any paint at all, because I selected an area of the skin that didn't have sufficient coverage. So let's have fun with it. Show me what kind of projects you come up with, and stay tuned right now. I'm going to roll some ideas on the screen that I would like to do with these painted skins, but I just simply didn't have the supplies on hand. Alright? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've had a fun time with this. Make sure to leave comments about what you'd like to see me do next if you have any painting or other art related projects. And as always, thank you so much for being here and enjoying this art with me.